Exciting, because this is, well, actually it's more than a sneak preview. This is actually our internal launch of ICRISAT's infoFinder. Many people have been inputting into this, a lot of scientists from the different programs as well, but nobody's actually seen the infoFinder except a very small group of people who've been working behind the scenes. So to keep you in suspense just a little bit longer, I'll give you a little bit about the background of the ICRISAT infoFinder and why we saw a need to work on this. You might remember earlier this year when I gave a presentation on revamping the ICRISAT website, we talked about the fact that ICRISAT's scientific information was spread throughout the website. It wasn't always easy to find. It wasn't all there as well. And that we really also found it would be important to provide information in the ways people come to the website looking for information. And how we categorize that is that some people come with a crop focus, and so they come wanting to know what ICRISAT has on pigeon pea, for example. Some people come with a geographic focus. They are interested just in, for example, Ethiopia or West Africa, and they want to know what ICRISAT has on information in that geographic location. And some people work from a topic aspect, like some people work on climate change or nutrition, and they want to come and find our information that we have on nutrition, and so forth. Or some people come just for our resources. They want to access ICRISAT's publications and look through them. So we wanted to provide often the same information, but be able to provide it in the form people are looking for it. So without just adding more features and elements to the ICRISAT website and making it more cluttered, we saw a need to separate and have a specific ICRISAT infoFinder for our scientific information. And then this would complement our corporate website, and they would cross-link each other all the time, but without cluttering the corporate website, which then will become more focused on the general issues and the corporate information. And the idea was also to create a platform for this infoFinder that not only had overviews of all the areas we work in by crops, topics, geographic areas and systems, but also to be able to collate all of our products and outputs, tag them by these topic and regions, etc., and to have them automatically feed and simultaneously continually update the infoFinder, which we have achieved, which is very exciting. And you're about to see it. Okay. So just to give an example, if we have, for example, a publication that's about chickpeas coping with climate change in Ethiopia, you will find that same information on the chickpea profile, on the climate change profile, and on the Ethiopia profile. So people can come and just go to the profile that they're interested in and find the information relevant to that. So now to take you out of the suspense you have, voila, here is the ICRISAT infoFinder being launched only internally. And the reason we're doing this is because although a lot of people have reviewed and inputted into content, nobody's seen it put together, and also when it comes together suddenly we get lots of glitches and other things, and so we really want people's input and feedback to this before we launch it externally. So if I just explain it, if I just show you one profile, so if we go to crops, and if I go to, for example, chickpea, and I know that text may be small there, may not be able to read it, but any individual profile follows a standard, so there's an image, a key message, and we select just a few key statistics. And then there's a row of tabs. There's always, in case you can't read it, an overview tab. The crops, and sorry, I'll just scroll down so you can see. So we have a good overview of chickpeas with some statistics too. Then for crops, we always have a botany tab a little bit about the botany of the crop. See that there? Then we have facts and figures. So that's there. We're actually going through a stage still trying to make it so the graphs show larger. That's just a technical item we're dealing with now. Then we have projects. What's exciting is for the very first time ever we've put all ICRISAT's projects, both current and past projects going back to the last EPMR, in a database, and it's searchable, and it's all tagged by which crop, topic, geographic area or system it relates to. And so it all automatically feeds every profile. So on every profile you'll get a list of, this one's the current projects, and each one you can click and get a summary. Now, we still have a technical glitch of all this information feeding, but we have a title, the duration, the location, which geographic location, a project contact, the donors. At the moment we're still overcoming a few technical glitches, but the donors will eventually show there, project partners, if the project has a website, and just a short summary description. So a lot of people have been working very hard to create profiles on every one of our projects, past and current. So that's been a huge achievement. And then if we click over here, you get your completed projects and the same profile again. And if we go up, that's a projects tab. Next is the publications tab. Because for a lot of our areas we've got hundreds or thousands of publications, we decided to have a key publications. I'm going here because I'm not sure if you can read the size of this font. We have a key publications, so we have a list here of selected publications. And then if you click the all publications, now just going to another tab here, because the all publications is automatically generated from the open access repository with the query that we've set up. So it actually does take a little while to download, because sometimes there can be over 1,000 publications. And so it takes the bibliographic reference directly from the open access repository. And if you click on one of these, it will then take you to the detail of that publication in the open access repository, which will come eventually. So you haven't tried to duplicate anything. So then you're in the open access repository with the information. You can get the PDF or anything you need. So back to our chickpea profile. The next tab is stories and more. So we have here a list of, so here's our stories. So we've got a list of all of our stories, and you can click and get the PDF and all of the videos on the topic. So you can get them as well to show the videos. Okay, and you can scroll down. Then the last tab, so I'll just say that all the first few tabs are manually written. So like the overview, botany, facts and figures, we had a lot of people working on this and a lot of scientists then reviewing and approving it or being interviewed. So that was manually written, which means we will have to update it manually. But all the other tabs are automatically fed now. And the last one is data. So what we did here is we worked on developing an inventory of all of ICRISAT's data sources, created a title, a description, and then there's a link to either the database, or if it's not publicly available in that form, there's a person to contact. And then of course that's all tagged by the appropriate topic, crop, etc. So it feeds whichever one is relevant. So it's a good way to promote our data, which we haven't been able to promote it enough before, so that's good. But we're not, without duplicating it, because then people click, so the link down here will then take you to, in this case, Dataverse, where that data is sitting. Okay. So that's an example of a profile. We also have a few nice features. Up in the corner here, click to make a PDF, so it will turn all information on every tab into a PDF, even the list of publications, stories, everything, which is a nice feature to have, so you can actually take the profile away with you. We haven't got them working yet, but we'll eventually have the like and the share with social media, and a few other features are still coming. So that's what a typical profile looks like. Now if I just show you what we have profiles on, so the orange vertical tabs, I think a bit hard for you to read, if you click, there's a topics tab, and if you click you can see the list of topics, which it goes from gender, biofuels, crop improvement, feed and fodder, ICT, knowledge management, seed systems, nutrition, climate change and dryland stresses, market access and value chains, natural resource management, policy and institutions, post-harvest management, poverty dynamics, development pathways, diversification, genetic resources, and pests and diseases, or presented alphabetically, of course. So we've got a lot of topic profiles, and they're all complete. Then we have systems, and actually this was discussed at the annual planning meeting earlier this year, and it was suggested at that meeting to have a systems section. And there we have two. We have farming systems and livelihood systems, but under farming systems there's three. There's crop and livestock, agroforestry, and cropping systems. So there's a profile there for all of those. Then of course crops, we have all our dryland cereals and each of the grain legumes. Under locations, this is something which will go into phase 2, just because it was such a huge task to put this together. We've only got it by sub-regions. We've got Asia, we've actually got one for semi-arid tropics, Eastern and Southern Africa, and Western Central Africa. And in phase 2, we'll then add profiles for each individual country where we work. But we just couldn't do it all at once. And the last main tab there is resources. So then we have publications, projects, stories and videos, and data. And you can go into any individual one of them. So for example, if you click projects, I think I clicked it. Ah, there. Oh, I don't know what happened. Okay, server error. Anyway, if you click projects, still you get, like you saw before, you get current projects and the list of all of our current projects, or you can click past projects and you'll get the list of those. And we've got a lot of good features, like because there's dates on projects, as soon as a date is complete, it automatically goes into the past projects. A lot of nice things like that. We've still got to set up good searching facilities against like just the project, so you can search just across the projects, and data and stories and videos. So there's quite a few features still coming, and we know there's a few technical glitches, but we felt this was still a good time that people can see the content, they can see how it's come together, and it's a good time to get feedback. Now just go back to the PowerPoint. Actually, I'm almost finished. There's not a lot to go. Okay, so some of the next steps. We'd really appreciate if people could review this and give us feedback. We know it's not perfect and it's never going to end, just like a website, but we need to start getting that feedback. It's been suggested that we consider looking for a more creative name. ICRISAT infoFinder at least is clear what it is, but we'd really like to hear of any suggestions for a more creative name. We've only got 2 weeks before we launch it with the board externally, so please send in any suggestions. I'm sure we can find a prize. Yeah, the external launch will be in 2 weeks with the board. Some of the things that we've got planned for the second phase, which no doubt will be added to when you send us your ideas and feedback. If we can't do everything in the next 2 weeks, we'll then put it in the phase 2 list of activities. The countries that I mentioned that we want to add, we'll continue with content addition. There's quite a few features we still want to add. From a content point of view, we're going to start collecting and adding PowerPoints, good presentations people have done, so we don't lose that, and that can feed. Okay. A news section as well, so items from happenings can automatically feed the right profiles. And of course we need to get a good workflow in order so that this has a good process for being kept up to date. So just largely, a huge thanks to all the people who've been involved, because this has been a big effort over probably less than a year anyway, about 6 months of a huge effort. First of all, a lot of ICRISAT scientists who have been interviewed and reviewed and given a lot of input already. KSI, who have been excellent, and we couldn't have done it without all the technical help. I didn't get permission from people to put these up, I hope that's okay. And of course a huge team from SMC that have been working on it. Huge team, from the projects people through to the video and story people and writers and so forth. So that's a brief summary. I'm happy. I know it's hard to give feedback right now because you need to go back and actually look through it, which I really hope people will do. Oh, I didn't give you the URL. We'll do that at the end. But yeah, I'm really impressed if people can go back and actually just play around, navigate through it and give feedback. But any comments in the meantime would be good. I can put it back up. Okay. That's it. Okay. Sorry? Yes. Yeah, I'll do that now. It's very easy. It's infofinder.icrisat.org. So I'll put that up. Sorry? Okay. Yeah. So the aim is there are 2 key corporate websites. One is the infofinder and one is just the ICRISAT.org. But rather than cluttering ICRISAT.org, every time we talk about something, so if we talk about chickpeas, then for the detail we link and go to the chickpea profile in infofinder. Or if we're talking about our regional work, then for the detail we click to the regional profiles on the infofinder. So it's very much cross-linking, and rather than cluttering one website. And the idea with the infofinder is you can create profiles, which I think was easier for presenting the information, which you couldn't have then applied that to your corporate website. So it was a way to satisfy 2 different needs. That's a good question. More questions?
Yeah, so Joanna, what will be the life of stuff on this? Will there be a set of rules to declutter it on a regular basis, or will you have some sort of control over the quantity?
And when I mentioned that one of the things we still have to do is to prepare a complete workflow and a whole management plan of this. My guess is, we didn't have that on the corporate website, did we? And stuff stayed there for a long time and got outdated. So the different sections will have different times that you'll have to look at how to update it. Maybe once a year or once every 18 months, every profile will have to be looked at for the general overview and the other tabs. But what we need to do in the meantime is, as new information comes out, because we're always writing stories on it, we have it built into our program that, right, when new good information comes out, we add that somewhere on the overview or the relevant section. So it's more automatically being updated, but every 12 to 18 months we do an overview, sort of new read through of it.
Okay, what happens to the old?
Yeah, it's updated, so it might be delete, it might be add to it. Yeah. Okay, so that's the URL. Other questions? Gosh, you're so quiet.
The .org is missing, Joanna.
The .org? Oh, okay, thanks. Yeah. ICRISAT.org. Do you actually need the HTTP? I'm not sure if you do, but that's the URL anyway. People can.
Even if you can throw some light on how this is different than the earlier ICRISAT website, as well as like how we are bringing or retrieving the information from the source.
Yeah. Do you want to say it? You can talk. I mean, I think it's very different. I think a core thinking behind it is providing information by how people come looking for information, and it doesn't matter if the information is repeated, because the idea is someone's not going to sit down and read it from page 1 to page whatever it goes to. So I think that's really key behind it, and then the other part is how you could present it so it's as easy as possible and didn't just look like another website navigation that got heavy and deeper and had sub navigation sort of levels. So I think those two things were key here. Plus, of course, the automatic feeding was very important, so it was as easy as possible to keep up to date. Except, of course, those main first few tabs will have to forever be updating. Yeah.
Voluntary, or is it going to be like linking up with really using the data in the sense of the IBP, for example, the breeding platform? Is there going to be like a link with the breeding platform for those that go to data to get, for example, phenotypic data or genotyping data? And so what sort of data we talk about? Or is it going to be like general information, general data on, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, it was like databases, I guess. It wasn't data as in facts and statistics. It's where we have core data collected for the research. That is already made available, but now actually collating and making it easy for people to find that. So, yeah, Dilip, because it's from Dilip's area, that section.
It's more like a one-stop shop. Like if you see, it's providing an interface and we are retrieving various resources from various locations. How we are retrieving publications from open access repository. In a similar way, as you rightly pointed out, where is this data coming? We have an open source platform that's called DataWorks. So far, the website retrieving the data, whatever available from the DataWorks that's actually being handled by ICRISAT. For the GCP one, if we could figure out a mechanism like how we can retrieve the data from the GCP, certainly we can make it available here. The only thing is we need to figure out the protocol, what is required, so we can get the data from there, and we can see the genotypic data, phenotypic data. But so far the DataWorks has not such kind of facility to host the genotypic data or something, the data related to genomics.
So I think it's the intention to duplicate. I just want to point what I would think is to avoid duplicating. Like say like whatever is going to be like that sort of information go there.
Yeah.
Because I guess it's like
We're happy for that. We are not duplicating anything. The only thing like what Joanna's team did, these are the platforms already available, but we do not have any platform for the project, for the photographs, and the stories. So for that one, we have resource base. They created the platform, so they host it there. And even we are not duplicating. Whatever the projects we are here seeing, that actually retrieved from that resource base. So we are just providing the pointer. It's more like an interface. So we can connect to any kind of platform and retrieve the data to this particular person.
This is what Dilip just said then. I was keeping it a secret, but that's okay because it's not ready to launch yet. But to be able to feed the InfoFinder, we had to create a database for, and we've got it, this is it here. There's publications, data, posters, PowerPoint presentations, data, videos, projects, impact stories, images. And so everything's there with all the metadata behind it. So eventually we'll release this in a form where people also can go directly here and you can search, because there's a lot more search features here because it's a specific database. The other one's a platform it's feeding into. So here you can do more complicated searches. But it's also very useful internally for us. You know, if you're traveling or you're going to meet someone and you can say, right, what projects do we have with this partner or this donor, or, you know, we can collect it pretty quickly. But this, yeah. So initially this is just for feeding InfoFinder. Once we're happy with InfoFinder, we'll go back to making this more presentable for an external user, and then we can launch this as well. Yeah.
Is this designed more for an internal audience or also for external viewers? Is it more ICRISAT or even external parties?
Yeah. The InfoFinder is for external people to use, but one thing, and it's good to make this clear, it's not meant to be the one-stop shop for any information on climate change, chickpea, etc. It's meant to be ICRISAT's information that we can contribute, but making it easy to get our information. It's not trying to be anything more than that, but of course it's for the external people to use it, definitely. Yeah. So eventually, when we've launched this, we will go back to focusing on the corporate website, and we'll be able to clean up a lot of content there because we can instead just point to the InfoFinder. So a lot of out-of-date information there will be able to be taken away without people getting upset because we've got content here. And that's why it's important that people look at this InfoFinder and they're comfortable with that, because that'll be the core point, access point for our information.
One additional point was you talked about markets and policies as well being covered in this. Do you have a section on market prices, trade statistics, something which gives a linkage or something of that sort? Because that data is sort of very live. And you know, it's on a daily basis, weekly basis, quarterly basis.
There is some of that, and people actually have made suggestions we could do even more. Same with even crops. You could do production, export. You know, you could collate it from FAO, know when they update it, and then keep yours updated. So I think there is some, but we could actually add more. And I think as we go along, we will add more. And you can have a whole tab for that type of data. So that's the sort of input that we want, what people think should be our priority in next lots of information that we collect. Yeah.
On that point, Joanna, I thought it was much more sensible that we just direct people to other sites where that information is available. Why attempt to duplicate FAO data?
Yeah, yeah, that's another good approach. Yeah, okay.
You can find weather data, or at least link to weather data.
Yeah, weather hasn't been included. I mean, you could take Peter's approach again, couldn't you, with finding what we think are reputable sources and linking to it.
Yeah, but that goes back though to your earlier point that it's a thing about ICRISAT information, not about.
Yeah.
To be honest, if you want to know globally, you just Google it. You find you're not going to go through ICRISAT's sites to find that. You might want to put some helpful links in. It's really got to be clear that it's ICRISAT information.
Yeah. And where we have the overview tab for each profile, we'll often have statistics in there that aren't our statistics, but they're relevant to give the big picture. So different information is used. I think that's why I answered your question saying some of it's there. It's there where we needed it to give the big picture, but we weren't deliberately going out to collect it at this stage. So thinking through the arguments of what we include and why will be important. Yeah. Good. Looks like it. Okay, everyone do their homework. Okay, thanks. Oh, Lydia. No, because that's more for external. So what Lydia said is one of the other features that we have on the infoFinder is there's a nice tab for feedback. So when external people use it, there's a very simple form they can fill out to encourage them to give us feedback. But that's designed with questions for a user as opposed to our staff. So I should have said who to send feedback to. Actually, Smitha. Well, Smitha or myself, it doesn't matter. We'll all stand up, Smitha. We'll all be looking at it anyway. Yeah, it's probably safer with Smitha than me. Yeah. Oh, I know. See the power of control. I can leave myself out.